Boy, you won't believe this. Looking back on it, at number 22 on WLS's Silver Dollar Survey, March 5th, 1965, jumping 13 notches from 35. The Beatles? No. Supremes? No. Four Tops? No. Zombies? Nope. Lawrence Welk. You heard right, Lawrence Welk. A bouncy instrumental called Apples and Bananas at number 22. Lawrence Welk. Remember the bubbles on his show? Had a champagne lady, lovely women on his show. One of them was named Alice Long, L-O-N. He fired her because he thought she was showing too much leg. The champagne lady was like the female singers, this female vocalist on his show. And he let her go because showing too much leg was a little too risque for Lawrence Welk. No dang cheesecake pictures on my show. We're not having that. But his fans were like, oh my God, you got to put her back on. She's great. What are you thinking? So Lawrence Welk rehired her. But that shows you just how straight-laced he was. Born in 1903 up in North Dakota, in the 1920s he performed in several bands. He actually recorded a tune. It was an instrumental, I take it, called Spiked Beer. Doesn't sound like a Lawrence Welk tune. That sounds more like a frat tune. Recorded in 1928 off the Jeanette Records, which was based in Indiana. In 1930s, in the 30s, during the Depression, Lawrence Welk traveled the country. He had his own band, but it was not a big band. They didn't play loud, rhythmic music, heavy music like Glenn Miller and Duke Ellington. That was for the young people. That was for the kids. He specialized in just straight dance tunes, sweet music to appeal to the older people. And Lawrence Welk Show, remember the bubbles? Well, the Lawrence Welk Show started as a pilot program. It was on KTLA. This was in Los Angeles. It started in 1951. Became wildly popular in Los Angeles. And ABC picked it up in 1955. Lawrence Welk, his biggest instrumental was Calcutta. That went to number 1 in 1960. But now here's the thing. Lawrence Welk was reluctant to cut Calcutta. He was not enthusiastic about this instrumental. But his music director, his name was George Cates, he said, look, if you don't record this thing, I'm going to do it. And Lawrence Welk supposedly had said, according to legend, well, hell, George, if it's good enough for you, well, it's good enough for me. I'm going to record it. Lawrence Welk, for the most part, until the 70s, laid off the current music. Ones that would be unfamiliar to the older people, but he did throw some in. Doing parodies of sorts of Don't Be Cruel by Elvis Presley on a show he did in 56, and somebody did the Watusi by the Orlons on one of his shows, but the biggest damn howler you'll ever go hear. And this is so typical of Lawrence Welk. He featured a tune, a cover of Brewer and Shipley's One Toke Over the Line. That was in 1971. And he called it a modern spiritual, which it was really, whereas most people in his age group and even some of the young people are saying, no, man, this is about smoking pot. No, I'm not trying to have fun with Lawrence Welk. He's done some great records. Don't get me wrong. I mean, his show lasted for years. He lived a long life. Died in the early 90s, I believe. He was 89 when he passed away in 1992. And now this song that I'm going to play, well, it's not a song, it's an instrumental, Apples and Bananas, number 22 on WLS's playlist. That did a lot better on WLS than it did across the nation. This would be Lawrence Welk's last hit on Billboard's Hot 100. And Apples and Oranges, or Apples and Bananas rather, went up to number 75 on Billboard's Hot 100. Here it is on WLS, the Silver Dollar Survey. And baby, I tell you what, they don't call it a silver dollar for nothing. It is worth its weight in silver and gold and then some.